storm that was in 1958.
Okay.
I would be a junior there in 1958,
Okay.
because I graduated in 1960.
I see. All right.
Anyway, the boom, they had a tremendous southerly wind come in and broke up the log booms in Quilcene Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And then after school, we'd go down and tie them up. Of course, after I should straighten that out. We didn't touch any of those logs until the boom people got out and tried to get as many as they could off of the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we was left there, and we figured, well, my goodness, Wally Peterson kind of got us going. He had a flatbed truck. Walter had a tractor,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a power saw. And then we go down there on the weekend, and I cut those logs up. Most of them are 40-footers.
Oh yeah.
So I just cut them in half. And then we could load most of them with the tractor on the flatbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was 12 logs is all we could get there if we got 12, 6 to 12 logs on the flatbed, and hauled it to Discovery Bay. There was a mill at Discovery Bay that the guy that bought them from us. So this is getting to be, hey, we was making $1 or $2 and nobody was bothering us. Well, we decided we could skip school. It's some other program they had going on at the school, so we skipped school and went down there. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
we did that, and then the weekend, and then pretty quick, we was after school, weekend, and finally the principal of the school come down and said we'd probably done enough work down there after school and stuff down there. And then the Buck Mountain owners, Ernie Dahlman and Anderson, what was Anderson's name? Anyway, they owned the Buck Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Mercer came down and they had a little chat with us and said they think that we harvested enough now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that was our beginning of being loggers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So nobody got in trouble or anything because the logs were high and dry on the ground.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when I talked to Wally, he touched
Maury
down on that.
Anderson.
Oh, Maury, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? So now, what did Walter Beck go on to do after high school? Did he get into logging?
Yes, he worked for my dad and myself
Mm-hmm.
and Ben Samper and one crew.
Okay.
My brother worked with me, Ray.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about Ben working with you.
Yeah, Ben, he got we kind of kid around out in the woods when you get there and stuff. And it didn't take maybe Ben pretty quiet and never said nothing. And he got along good with my dad. Now my dad would pick on him a little bit, you know. And he really got friendly with everybody and enjoyed having me around. He was really something. And one of the things that stick out in my mind, we always, if you had time, and I was careful when we was logging and whatnot with everybody, but we get playing around once in a while. And one deal, I went by their lunches one day, and I pretended I stomped on them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't. Well, you guys aren't working hard enough. And then I went back to my work. Well, when I come back at lunchtime, because we stayed out in the woods summertime, my lunch was definitely stomped on.
Oh no.
Oh, Ben, he just laid down and laughed to beat hell about that.
Wow. How old was Ben when he went out and worked with you guys?
I would say he was just out of high school too.
Okay.
He was married to Mary Ann. They weren't married very long, many years.
Mhm.
Oh, well, I was married to Marie too, so. So I don't know, in our early 20s anyway. And then in the wintertime, he was able to go and pick brush.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, so that's how he got in with this. And then every time after when the snow got done and everything, of course that's in the spring, and they don't pick brush in the spring much. So Dad get him, and he come back and work for us. I think he worked for 3, maybe 4 years that way.
Wow. Did you ever work with or around Les or Bob Allen at a quill scene?
Yes, my dad worked with them more than I. They was older than I were.
Mm-hmm. What was your dad doing for them?
He usually was building road or doing some logging, with cat logging for him.
Okay.
Is what he usually done.
Did those guys usually sub out and do Forest Service work, or were they working for like publishers or?
Most of our around here at that time was private land.
Mm.
They did a lot of. Yeah, I don't remember them, Allen Brothers, being on Forest Service land.
Okay.
That was usually done by, it was the big mill companies at that time. And I think Buck Mountain at that time was the largest. They had 340 some employees and something of that nature.
Buck Mountain did.
Yes.
Wow. Do you remember how many years Buck Mountain ran their operations?
I want to say it was from 1952 to 1972.
Wow.
Ernie Dahlman ended up in the oyster business. Maury Anderson ended up having a small logging side.
Hmm. So now, DeEtte, your dad, when did he start out working out in the woods?
Right out of high school too, I suppose, I imagine. But he started working around here, I can remember, is he worked for Irvin Kelly.
Okay.
Irvin Kelly had a logging site, and he's one of the operators and hot shot loggers at that time that he canned everybody. He canned me too.
Really?
Let alone my dad, Marie's dad too. He was a truck driver.
Okay.
But then we went, after that, Dad got a contract for Buck Mountain. And you did that for, I want to say, maybe, I don't know how many years, a few years anyway. We started a forest fire on Bon John in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
And we couldn't get it, had a hell of a time getting it out. I just about had it out. And Bill Nelson, he was a yarder engineer at that time, and he come out with 2 buckets of water, almost put it out. The thing that saved us was the Forest Service had come down and got our fire truck, because they had a fire going.
Wow.
So they couldn't say too much about our fire getting away.
Yeah,
but it
okay.
didn't burn, it never burnt too much. It didn't burn the yard or anything, but it was,
Wow.
definitely had to go and spend plenty of time there and till cool, clear off. But Walt Kelly had a pretty good size sail for anacortes veneer. So we had to check it every day. Of course, we drove by it and go down and check it and put little fires out.
Wow. So how did that big one start that you couldn't quite get extinguished with the fire truck being gone?
Yeah, it didn't. It was on Bon John, and evidently the wind must have changed or something happened and put it out.
Wow. Yeah, okay. Isn't that something? So how long were you guys on that Bon John sale for?
Usually most of them were for about 3 years or so. It took us to log them. Some of them were, they was, I want to say, 30, 40 million jobs at that time. And they usually had 6 years, 6 to 10 years to log them.
Really? Now, did your dad do quite a bit of work with Walt Kelly for sales and stuff?
Probably 3 years before he
Hmm.
give it up, 3 or 4. I can't imagine how many years. I don't know how many years. That's when Ben worked for us. So that'd be probably for at least 6 before he went broke doing it.
Okay.
It didn't work out for him.
So did Walt buy the sale and then have you guys log it, or have a logger go and do the work for him?
Most of the time, the way that run was somebody like Walt Kelly would get the sale from Anacortes Veneer,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was up to him to hire the loggers
Mm.
and come in and log it. And he built the roads, so he was
Okay.
ahead of Irvin and him and Buck Mountain and Maury and them. They were more or less overseers, and they took care of making sure the roads were built.
Okay.
That was their main deal. And that the logging went with it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Do you kind of remember when Walt quit doing that?
So it was probably in the 80s. He built the road up, his biggest road he built was up Murhut.
Really?
Yeah, he started all the way from the Forest Service cabin. And when
Wow.
he didn't build they built a wooden bridge. There was a wooden bridge up there, what they built. And he built it all the way up there, clear to the top of Murhut.
Wow, that was all him. Do you remember how many years it took for him to complete that?
Maybe 15.
Wow.
All rock. Shot with dynamite. Archie Thomas was a cat skinner that was ahead of that.
Wow. Did anybody ever talk about why they didn't connect that road at the end down to Cabin Creek on, I think it's,
They were going to, but
Uh-huh.
when the Forest Service works in a new, what do you call him? Ranger or new
Mhm.
boss. Anyway, when the government sends out a new guy to take over that district, that's who sets what happens.
okay.
And the last one that got up there to do that, it was, and then this was when they was getting in the 1960s or
Mhm.
late 70s. Yeah, save in these early 80s. They decided they didn't want the Forest Service logged anymore.
Oh, okay.
And they put a stop to it. And it gradually, and that's when my dad got out of it too. There wasn't enough work here. You had to go to Forks to log for the Forest Service. This up here was beautiful and scenic and
Uh-huh. Okay.
in between the, oh geez, I should know the guys there. Rangers, is that a ranger was what they were? Anyway, they had one at Hoodsport and one here at Quill.
Okay. That were in charge of each district, you mean?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, they had their own summer crew and all that. It was just, yeah, and the
Okay.
Forest Service people were set the roads, staked the roads all out, the units and stuff could be logged.
So
And
do
that's
you,
why they wanted it. The first reason when we was doing it all the time was to get up there so they didn't have any forest fires anymore.
oh,
That was the main thing. Build a road to the top so you can get something up there to stop it before it burns the whole mountain down,
uh-huh.
which worked.
So DeEtte, do you remember at the very end of that Murhut Road, past the saddle, if you didn't take any of those side roads and you just continued straight on back all the way to the top there, do you remember who logged that last big section back there above Cabin Creek? It was a high lead job.
Holy smokes, let's see. was too. Now I forget who that was.
I'd heard years ago that Tim Hodges had done some logging up there, but I don't think he was as far back as the end of the road.
No, that guy come from, he wasn't from around here that did that road back there, that last unit. Halden Johnson was one of them that was up there once. He was the one that come in with the best logging yard, or the biggest one that was around at that time. He was the last one I knew that logged up there, but he didn't go, he just went up to that saddle and logged.
Okay.
Now, who went? Oh, Wilbur Bolander.
Oh.
I worked for him and run shovel for him at that time.
Oh, okay.
And that's what was for Anacortes Veneer too.
That did that piece in the very back.
Yeah, that he didn't do the one. He did the one on the very back when you get up to the saddle and go to your left.
Okay.
Did that one, and the other guy from down there at Hoodsport. I don't remember his name right off.
Do you have a rough idea how many or what year that would have been?
That was the late '90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I worked for Bolander in 1974 through 1984, I think.
Oh, you're thinking so it was more like in the late 80s then, somewhere in there? Okay. Okay. And do you remember up that Merhut Valley, were there quite a few different loggers that, I take a particular interest in this because I live not too far from that area, but were there quite a few loggers from out of the area that come in and log that? I mean, I'd heard about Hanley and Phillips being up there and Mankey at one point, and
I worked for Mankey when they logged up there too.
Oh, okay.
Hanley and Phillips I didn't work for.
Okay. How far up was Mankey working when they did that?
About, they worked across the canyon from the first flat that you get up there. There's a Y in the road. The first Y in the road that you get at after you start winding around. One went to the left, and the other one went on up the hill. And that was a big wide spot up there with a kind of a cliff that you stood on. There was a big giant spar tree there that I climbed.
Oh.
And Hanley and Phillips logged that on the other side of the canyon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's a overgrown road that starts just down the road from where that spar was, and it winds up underneath that main Merhut Road.
Yeah, Buck Mountain logged all that up there.
Okay.
And I was a hook tender on that job also.
Wow. And that was another 3-year job that Buck Mountain had?
Yeah, I was there because we had to hike in and tow the shovel or the yarder out.
Wow.
Of the snow. Towed it down the hill.
Were you around when I believe it was Lou Parsons was up in that neck of the woods, and maybe he was working on something for Walt Kelly.
He was up Cabin Creek.
Was that it?
But
Okay.
he also logged some up Merhut.
Because Parsons was telling me a story about having to go up Merhut to put a diesel motor in a front end loader, and it was snowing. And by the time they finished with the job, there was so much snow they couldn't get out, and had to get someone to plow the road for them.
Oh.
I was wondering if you were around for any of that.
I wasn't in for that. I didn't work with Eastgard. Eastgard was the name of the other logger too.
Oh, okay. Do you ever remember hearing any stories about those? I can't get a definite on who it was, but they had a yarder set up on a real steep landing that was supposed to have been helicopter logged, and the it was so steep they had to use haywire to drag trucks up to the landing. And when they went belly up, and when the job was finished, they left their equipment on the landing. You remember ever hear anything about that? It was kind of in that somewhere between Duckabush and Hoodsport was where this job was at.
No, I wasn't, when they, at my time of logging and stuff, I was working in the lowlands with Yankee lumber.
Okay.
That, so I never got in on any of that big skyline
Mhm.
stuff. I seen where it was rigged up and whatnot, but I never was involved in any of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because they had that big one up Jefferson Creek, that big skyline unit that was, I don't know, a mile and a half to the top. Jefferson Creek down there, you could see where that one went way on up through to.
Oh, where the Scandinavians were
Yeah.
at? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd heard about that, but hadn't gotten. Only talked to one person so far to get some info on it. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think they did two great big giant units up there, that Swiss outfitter.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of have a recollection of what year that would have been?
Late 1991, between 86 and 96,
Yeah.
somewhere in that area.
Okay. Yeah. All right.